contains
Holy
the remains
AI
of an
generated.
enormous number. But I think that the Wither literally...
Whoa.
What have we established at this point? The Nether is...
New sound effect, bro.
And don't look at me like I'm crazy.
These are all
I think
modern.
the sounds... I've heard some people say that because the Nether is so cavernous, that's honestly an interesting... This is just a theory, so bear with me, but what if those wailing sounds are the echoes of this mass death event? What if they're noises from when it happened? I know. But it's just a theory. Going back to just the Soul Sand Valley, I want to take a closer look. These massive fossils
They're dragon bones.
can generate throughout the valley. Looking at them, the majority seem to resemble rib cages. We've never seen any creature in the game other than maybe the Ender Dragon that could have a rib cage. There's also the Giant, but that isn't even officially implemented into the game. It doesn't even spawn naturally. Or the Soul Sand Valley is not the only place where we also see fossils in swamps and often found in environments that preserve ancient remains over long periods of time.
Nah, really?
Swamps can preserve bones. They can simply be interpreted. So within those biomes, while others are at the skulls, the majority of them use this as a single eye cyclops. In real life, some historians believe that the myth of the Cyclops may have come from ancient Greeks. That's all to say, I don't think massive cyclopes actually ever existed in Minecraft. Unless we're talking about... Anyways, these fossils are significantly large
this
compared
guy
to the
keeps
largest
beating
modern
around the
game,
bush all the time,
Ender
bro.
Dragon.
It's like,
So maybe that
but
thought
there
about
are
the Ender
singular-eyed
Dragon was... Now, even though fossils can be found in both the Nether and the Overworld, I don't know if that means the same massive creatures lived in both dimensions.
Why
The
not?
fossils in the Nether aren't buried in sediment or slowly uncovered over time, embedded in a biome. It's an interesting thought. Fossils do look rather different from one another. Hypothetically, if that these fossils are related, then the Nether wasn't always cut off from the Overworld. At some point, hypothetically, creatures could have crossed
and then added on to by that was built, and this person
didn't just kill millions of... I know I'm making a lot of logical jumps here, but I'm just trying to propose different theories that could explain. So if this were all true, it would have an interesting implication. Other than just skeletons, whatever these massive creatures were would be the truly exist in more than one dimension. Also not counting Endermen. So going with that idea, if these creatures lived in both dimensions, then the Nether, it may have once been just another world through the Nether portal, the Obsidian Nether portal. I think it's pretty obvious that first of all, we know that it's the only gateway between... The developers, in my opinion, originally did a pretty bad that Obsidian was the way to make how to get to the Nether. But I think adding in the Ruined Nether portal, how to get there. And honestly, at one point, there must have been a group of people, then there was some that knew how to get there. Either that, or there was a group from the Nether to the Overworld. Now, what do I mean by that? I think it's fair for me to say, if we go with the ladder, brings up two different theories to me. Either A, these portals of the Nether and into the Overworld, perhaps at one point, either during or after the events. Again, this is all just a theory. Ruined portals were used for people to originally get from the Overworld too. And just as well, I think they could have been used even the same way. The original idea that made me want to make this video in the first place was the potential theory that the Nether was as a way to travel from one distance. We, as the players, make Nether highways, since one block in the Nether equates to 8 in the Overworld.
Do people not know this?
Unironically, every time they're 40k. In that world, people use the hell-like dimension known as the only problem of demons and incredibly dangerous. Now, I'm not going to get into in this video, so if somehow you disagree with
Dog, 40k.
my description of the warp, crucify me in the comments, I guess. I'm not fighting it. Anyways, this all kind of ties back to part of my original theory in my first archaeology video. What if the Nether Fortress was used as a Nether highway? To me, that would explain the fact that it really is, save for a few Nether warp farms rather than an... Tell me what you think about that though, because I also can see the argument that the fact that it's called a fortress, also it doesn't really go that far, it doesn't usually stretch that far, but still, fortress is times 8 is pretty significant in the Overworld. So, if it is true that some of the ruined portals were made from people trying to escape the Nether, or originally trying to get into the Overworld from the Nether, my only question is, where did they get the obsidian? As far as we are aware, the only way to get obsidian is through the combination of water
from
and
the
lava.
Nether.
And water
in the bastion,
anywhere. It evaporates the moment it is placed down, unless you put it in a cauldron. We're just going to ignore that. The only other place I can quote naturally is the end, but there's no way to get from the nether to the end. If you argue that you can get obsidian from piglins and bartering, I would object by saying that those piglins had to get that obsidian from somewhere. They aren't just making it themselves. They don't have the ability to do that within the nether. Furthermore, they can't even go into the overworld without being. There's two possible explanations for this. Either A, the piglins at one point traded, or B, this could either be in the form of the bastions,
or,
if they weren't the ones who made them, or harvesting it from the nether portals. Just something to think about. Another interesting note is that all of the ruined portals have a nice fancy frame around them, no matter if you find them in the nether or the overworld. To me, this says that there was either some form of religious, ritualistic, or cultural significance to them in the civilizations that used them, or they were just trying to make their public transportation look nice. So what I'm saying is maybe the nether wasn't originally a place to avoid. Maybe it could possibly be that it was the most important place. At one point, it acted as and whatever happened left behind ruined highways, fortresses, and valleys. Before we go back to looking at just obsidian itself, I want to mention one last thing. When it comes to the ruined portals in the overworld, the nether is creeping out of them. It's turning dirt and grass into netherrack. Does this mean that the nether is alive and capable of... If it is, it almost reminds me of the Crimson from Terraria. Man, we're just throwing a bunch of different media references. Before I say this next statement, I know that people probably give me a bunch of back. Honestly, before I saw the movie, I had no idea what the Orb of Dominance or anything like that. But still, we do see the nether creeping into the overworld and overtaking it towards the ending of the movie. This gets reversed, of course, but still. Just more evidence for that idea. Now, back to obsidian. Like I said, obsidian, we see it used all over the game. We use it to make an enchanting table. We use at least 10 of it to make a nether portal. We use it to make a respawn anchor. We find crying obsidian in ruined portals, and we get it from pig. This couldn't be more clear. Mystical properties associated with it. It can be used for interdimensional travel. It can cry. It is used to imbue weapons with enchants. It is used to heal the Ender Dragon and on us in the nether. That's very interesting to me. And if I'm being honest, at this point, I don't know what to make of it. The only other material that we really see that has some form of a magical power. Of course, that is more or less the medium that is used.
Lazuli, not Lazuli. What the fuck was that, bro?
Enchant items, of course, that we really see that has some form of a magical power. Of course, that is more or less the medium that is used up in order. So whatever obsidian actually is, Minecraft consistently treats it as more than just, it isn't just durable and extremely hard to mine. It seems capable of interacting with the balance of, there's no way that coincidence. To be honest, I find it really interesting that it just uses obsidian. Like, there's gotta be something behind that. Either that, or they're just incredibly lazy and don't want to come up with something new. Which honestly would make sense too.
Not because they're
also,
lazy,
about obsidian, I completely forgot to mention that obsidian is used also to make the beacon and the ender chest.
Really?
Additionally, the end crystal on obsidian, not just bedrock. Also, this is more of a wacko theory, but obsidian is used in order to make the nether portal and tear a hole in reality. Endstone is in order to make up the end portal.
Really?
I'm wondering if there might be a correlation between these. Convenient for
this is because the original path they added on want to go down the
portal in the deep dark, and to the other side is also made out of deep slate. Maybe there's something reality break. So honestly, what I want you to take out of this video is the main idea that the nether possibly isn't hell, causing it to be either that or it is just hell. Was completely useless.
This video
honestly,
was
there's
entirely useless.
a lot more that I want to talk about.